Hello everyone, welcome once again to this online session. We have started revising the chapters for summative assessment. From physics part you have two chapters. First one is motion and the second one is force and laws of motion. We have already started revising these two chapters in our previous sessions, and we have done questions like multiple choice questions. We have done assertion and reasoning type of questions. In today's session I'll be doing few give reasons from these two chapters, and then we'll be solving few sums based on these two chapters. Okay, see, select suitable reasons to the given statement. A statement will be given and the options will be given in terms of points, and you have to select which among the given points stands as the reason for the given statement. Look at the first question here. Even though the magnitudes of action and reaction force are equal and their directions are opposite, their effects do not get cancelled. You have to give reason for this. You have to give reason to this question. Even though the magnitudes of action force and reaction force are equal and their directions are opposite, their effects do not get cancelled. What is the reason for that? First point tells you that when two bodies interact, the action and reaction forces come into action. Even though their magnitude is the same and their directions are opposite, their effects do not get cancelled because these action and reaction forces do not act on the same body. And the second point tells that even though their magnitude is the same and the directions are opposite, their effects do not get cancelled because these action and reaction forces act on the same body. First is the effects do not get cancelled because the action and reaction forces do not act on the same body is the first point. And second point tells that this action and reaction forces act on the same body. So this question is based on your Newton's third law of motion, right? And you have learned that the action and reaction forces, they are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction, and their effects do not get cancelled because they act on two different bodies. They do not act on the same body. So the first point stands as the reason for this statement. So the option would be point number 1. See, the options are given like this. You have to choose either point number 1 or point number 2, or you can say both point number 1 and 2 are right or both are incorrect. But according to the given point, your first point stands as the reason for the given statement. So the option is A, that is only the first point. Okay. Now next question. The motion of a freely falling body is an example of uniformly accelerated motion. See, the given statement tells you that the motion of a freely falling body is an example of uniformly accelerated motion. Why the motion of a freely falling body is an example of uniformly accelerated motion? This is the way you have to assume the question. Okay, so what should be the reason for this? You all know the definition for uniform acceleration. Equal change in velocity in equal interval of time is what is called as uniformly accelerated motion. Okay. See, look at the options given here, and you have to choose the point that stands as the reason for the given statement. The first point tells that a body has uniform acceleration if it travels in a straight line and its velocity increases in unequal amounts in equal interval of time. So this cannot be the reason for the given statement. A body has a uniform acceleration if it travels in a straight line and its velocity increases in equal amounts in equal interval of time. So the second point stands as the answer for the given statement, or it stands as the reason for the given statement. So you have to choose option B, that is only point number 2. Now next question. Motion along a circular path is accelerated, right? You all know what is acceleration. Rate of change of velocity is what is called as your acceleration. So whenever an object is moving along a circular path, what about its acceleration? It is said that motion along a circular path is accelerated? If it is so, what could be the reason for that? Is it so that when a body moves along a circular path, its velocity changes continuously due to continuous change in direction? Or when a body moves in a circular path with uniform speed, its motion is called uniform circular motion? So the option would be the first point. When a body moves along a circular path, its velocity changes continuously due to continuous change in direction. Speed in a particular direction is what is called as velocity. Whenever you are changing the direction, the velocity has to change. When there is a change in velocity, we call the motion to be accelerated. So whenever a body is moving along a circular path, it shows continuous change in direction, because of which the velocity will also change. So the answer would be option A, that is only point number 1. See, when you are answering such type of questions, you have to recall the definitions for the given keyword there. See, in this question, it is given motion along a circular path is accelerated. So you should know what is acceleration, change in velocity. What is velocity? Speed in a particular direction is what is called as velocity. Whenever the direction changes, obviously you have to change the rate at which the vehicle is moving, right? Therefore, when there is a change in rate of change of velocity is what is called as acceleration. So focusing on that point, you have to answer such type of questions. Next, force cannot be seen. It can be judged only by the effects that it can produce on various bodies around us. Why? Why is it so? Force cannot be seen. We all know that. And it can be judged only by the effects that it can produce on various bodies around us. So we all know that force is needed to displace an object from one position to another position. Whenever you apply a force, there may be a change in the shape of the object. There may be a change in the direction of motion of the object. An object which is at rest will begin to move, or an object which is in motion can be brought to rest only by the application of force. So you can judge the object has undergone a force by observing these changes, like change in the direction, change in the speed, change in the shape, change in the position and all. See the options here. A force can change the direction and speed of a moving body. A force cannot change the speed but can change the direction of a moving body. A force can change the shape of a body. So among this, what should be the points that would stand as a reason for the given statement? You can judge the object has been acted upon by a force when it undergoes a change in direction, when it undergoes a change in the speed, when it undergoes a change in the shape. So point number 1 and 3 stands as the reason for the given statement. And next we'll see few graphical patterns. First, I've shown the graphical pattern of a distance time graph for an object being at rest, an object showing uniform motion, and an object showing non-uniform motion. Graphical pattern A tells you that the object is at rest. So here you find a line parallel to the x-axis or parallel to the time axis. When you find a straight line starting from the origin, it says that the object is covering equal distance in equal interval of time, which means the object is showing uniform motion. When an object covers unequal distance, right, it means that it is showing non-uniform motion. That is why you find a curved line. Next, velocity time graph for a constant speed. When the object is showing constant speed, you will again find a line parallel to the time axis. And if the object is showing uniform acceleration, then you will find a straight line starting from the origin. Then if the object is showing non-uniform acceleration, then you will find a curved line. Clear? Now, see, now coming to the calculation part. Okay, it's not at all confusing, very easy. Only thing is you have to pay little attention while solving the sums. What would be the displacement after half a circle if the particle is moving in a circular path of radius r? They are asking the displacement of the particle that is moving along a circular path after moving along half the circle. Clear? What is displacement? Displacement is the distance between the initial and final point. Now, if the particle is starting from point A, after covering half a circle, it would reach point B. Yes or no? See, I'll show you. If the object is starting from point A, after reaching half a circle, it will come to point B. Right? That means what? From A to B, you can calculate like this also. It stands as the, you have to calculate the displacement shown by the particle after covering half a circle. Half a circle is what? From point A to point B. I have shown by using the previous figure itself. And see, this AB is the diameter of the circle because it passes through the center. And this is the easiest way to do. It's given in the sum itself. The radius of the given circular path is R. So what is diameter? Twice the radius. So R plus R, 2R. Or in other words, you can calculate like this also. If radius OA is equal to R, then OB is also equal to R. AB is what? OA plus OB, which is equal to R plus R, that is 2R. So AB is the diameter, therefore this 2R is the displacement of the particle after covering half the circle, right? Next, the following figure is of a velocity time graph which shows the motion of a cyclist. Observe it carefully and identify the correct statement. Okay, see, look at the graphical pattern. It's a velocity time graph and you see a line parallel to the x-axis. That means what is the acceleration shown by the object? There is no change in velocity, so acceleration can be assumed as 0. You can do like this, or you can calculate also. From the graph you can calculate your velocity to be, or assume your u to be 0. Acceleration can be calculated using the formula A is equal to V minus U upon T. So 0 minus 20 upon time given is 15. That is equal to 0 meter per second square. That is time consuming, right? So by looking at the graph itself, you can say that when there is no change in velocity, it means the acceleration is 0. What is acceleration? Change in velocity upon time. According to the graphical pattern given here, there is no change in velocity. Therefore, it is 0. Acceleration is 0. Now, you have to find whether the distance covered by the cyclist in 15 seconds is 300 meters. See here. For that, let me take up this formula. S stands for your distance, ut plus half at square, right? This portion is going to be 0 because my acceleration is 0, right? So if I take S is equal to ut, in that case I will take 20 into 15, which is equal to 300 meter. Therefore, distance covered by the cyclist is 300 meter is a correct statement. And acceleration is 0 is also correct. Velocity from the graph we can easily see that it is 20 meter per second. Therefore, the option would be 4, that all the above answers are correct. Clear to you? Understood? See, rather than wasting time, certain things you have to start understanding by looking at the figures given. The figure itself gives the answer to the questions. Okay? Now, next question. See, a body of mass 25 kg has a momentum of 25 kg meter per second. Calculate the velocity. Very simple. See, if suppose this mass is given in terms of grams and your momentum is given in terms of kilogram meter per second, in that case, you have to convert the gram to kilogram. Remember that. Now here mass is 25 kg and momentum is 25 kg meter per second. They want you to find the velocity. We know the formula to calculate momentum, P is equal to mv. So we want V. So in that case we'll take V to be P by M. So what's your momentum P? P is 125 divided by 5, which will give you 5 meter per second. Clear? Next question. See, a hammer of mass 500 gram moving at 50 meter per second strikes a nail. The nail stops the hammer in a very short time of 0.01 second. What is the force of the nail on the hammer? They are asking you to calculate the force. Okay. Formula for force, F is equal to ME. Right? Formula for force we know, that is F is equal to ME. And in this case, this F is equal to MA. We have the value of mass as 500 gram. See here, 500 gram is converted to kilogram because here we have to calculate force. So we want gram to be converted to kilogram. So how will you convert gram to kilogram? Dividing that by 1000. So you get 0.5 kilogram here. Okay. So mass we have 0.5. Acceleration is not there. Acceleration can be calculated using the formula A is equal to V minus U upon T. See here. A is equal to V minus U upon T. So acceleration is calculated by using the formula V minus U by T. In that case, we know the value of T from the question, that is 0.01. V is 0 and U is 50. Okay. So we are getting A as minus 50 by 0.01. Okay. Now, to divide this minus 50 by 0.01, we have to try removing this decimal point here. For that, we can multiply both numerator and denominator by 100. When you do that, this minus 50 into 100 will become minus 5000. And 0.01 into 100, what will happen? It will become 1, no? Therefore, your acceleration here is minus 5000 meter per second square. Now, with this, we can calculate force, that is F is equal to MA. So, M we have 0.5 into acceleration is minus 5000. So, that will give you minus 2500 kilogram meter per second square, which is nothing but your Newton. Clear to you? Yes. So with this, we are coming to the end of today's session. So my best wishes for your upcoming exam, and I want you all to revise whatever is given in the revision videos, and please pay attention on your notes also. Please read your textbook carefully. In your exam, you may have to type answers to few questions. So apart from this revision, also you have to learn the textbook thoroughly, and you should be able to answer questions which are based on your textbook content. Okay. So with this, we are finishing our today's session, and then meet you soon with the new lessons after your exam. Till then, take care. Goodbye.